Hot off the back of the Behemoth update the other day, it's time to talk about the Alien and Rogue Incursion update that also came out around the same time, and honestly it's been a little while since this has come out, but this is the only time that I've really got to jump in and take a look at it again, and it has done a fair bit of work in making the game feel better and play a lot better in terms of the Xenomorphs. Now we're going to break down the patch notes here if you haven't really been exposed to them and seen what's in them, and answer the question that we did for Behemoth the other day, which is it the right time to jump in and try it if you haven't already? Before we get into it, only 25% you are subscribed, so please feel free to do so as we're trying to get to 20,000 subs, and thank you to our patrons and YouTube members for keeping the channel going day after day and week after week. So, first and foremost, we had a big rebalancing in the spawn rates of Xenomorphs. This is exactly what the feedback that we gave at launch has been leading to, and I'm so happy it's here. It feels less like the Xenomorphs are on a timer than they were before. At launch, you could honestly count down, in your head, a couple of minutes between encounters and predict exactly when a Xenomorph is going to pop up and try and kill you, and that really killed the tension. Similarly, the Xenomorphs kind of always felt like they knew where you were, and that has been sorted as well. Their hearing and vision were adjusted basically to avoid spawning in overwhelming numbers and being too accurate, meaning that you can actually hide now. It's a viable strategy to do so instead of just blasting your way around, and this has made it so that the game feels a lot more suspenseful and full of horror than it did before. Previously, it was a bit of a gung-ho adventure, and now you can actually take your time, explore, and feel the tension creep up as you hear the Xenomorphs arrive on the motion tracker. Much better than at launch, and that is my main gripe of the game, pretty much sorted. Performance-wise, it still feels like it's being held together by string at certain points, not enough to really crash the game at all in my opinion, or at least from my experience, but just in terms of frame rates, they do feel like they dip a little bit still. It may feel a bit better than it was before, I'm not too sure, it's been a little while since I jumped into it last, but from the patch notes it seems that they have fixed some crashes and stability issues, so there has been some work done to it. Let's continue with the notes though. A lot of fixes for missing or incorrect items or map objectives are there, and 2 achievements have been fixed as well, so you achievement hunters, you can jump into the game and get those fully now. They also say there's a fix for saves during airlock quarantines that cause the player to be stuck in the airlock in the medical wing of the facility. Now, I actually, in hindsight, ran into this issue. I saved at the medical airlock, loaded back in, and it took ages for the doors to open, but I just thought the game was loading. So in hindsight, that was a bug I ran into, but it just went over my head in my initial playthrough because I just thought it was taking a while to load, but good to see that's fixed. The support grips for the pulse rifle and the shotgun are now much easier to grab. That is a great piece of feedback they've taken and turned into a better gameplay element. I did find that it was a little difficult to two-hand the weapons compared to other VR games that include guns like, say, your Pavlovs or your Breaches. They've tuned the Xenomorphs a little bit to be a bit faster on their taunt and attack duration on harder difficulties. I've only played on normal, so I'm not really sure how much harder this makes the game, so I can't really comment on that, but that should add a bit more challenge to it. I have found that the Xenomorphs feel a little bit more beefy though in terms of health. I don't know whether that's just a placebo on my part, but they feel a bit more dangerous now in smaller numbers. Davis as well, your companion throughout the game, no longer randomly looks away during the catwalk scene on the ship, which is good. I can't remember really running into this, but apparently people have reported it, so that'll be fixed. And another thing that I didn't really clock onto in my initial playthrough of the game is that when synths die, they still appear on the motion tracker. Well, now that is fixed, and they don't. And it's not really a game-breaking bug or anything like that, but it's good to see that attention to detail fixed up. There were also just a bunch of fixes for collisions, barrel explosions getting a little bit bigger, the revolver jamming as well, the flashlight angle being adjusted, and again, lots of crash fixes, which is good to see. And thank God, support for save history is now there, so you can now load your previous saves and go in whenever you want. I will add as well, there are a couple of points where there are some graphical glitches that I haven't seen before, namely in the panic rooms, the desks seem to be kind of like a weird glitching in and out overlapping texture that I haven't seen before. This wasn't in the build that I played the first time I played through the game. I'm assuming it's just been introduced in the latest patch. So there is a little bug there, but that's the only thing I found in terms of bugs since the new patch dropped.
What is going on here?
I've analyzed the intel Carver sent us. The data pad
Fuck.
grants limited access.
Overall, the feedback is entirely positive from me here. It's fantastic additions to the game. Really happy with where it's at now. Definitely go in and give it a go if you haven't already. If it's in your backlog or you've been waiting to buy it, now is the time, I would say. That main gripe of the Xenomorphs feeling like they're on a bit of a timer is now sorted. It's now done. Gone. It feels a lot more dynamic and natural now as opposed to kind of the stagnant and stale way it felt at launch, and it would probably bump up my rating of the game by a good few points now. It's just the cherry on top that we've got a bunch of other fixes as well, and the ability to load saves, which again is very much appreciated. It's something that really helps with replaying different levels in Behemoth, and was sorely missed up until this point. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy. Tell me how you've been finding Alien Rogue Incursion these last couple of weeks since the patch came out. Apologies for being a bit late on this, it has been quite busy, but it's good to see everything has been addressed here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.